You guys need your own video game.
Yeah, I was thinking like maybe like a show, but fuck that. I want a fucking video game now. That shit's hard.
Daddy, you are nuts.
Oh my god!
Could you imagine? That'd be crazy. Little video game, dude. I do surgery and then I rap a little bit and then I have a podcast and shit. You know,
it's just Big Cup Daddy. It's called.
It'll be like Grand Theft Auto. I do some dirt at night. You know, make it a little edgy.
Steal a car. You know, whatever.
From Scrubs to Hubs, the two docs on the mic.
I gotta ask another question before it gets too late. Before I forget, dude. So I grew up in the 90s, right? Like one of my favorite shows was Martin, right? That dude was hilarious. So when I was looking you up, low key, because I had to, I saw that Martin's About Your Life. Is that true?
It is true. They followed me for like
so we have questions
30 days. And I can't tell you why. I can't tell you why they picked me. Where'd they come from? It all happened. Copper Carew was the guy's name, the producer, and that's what they thought the characters and the stuff that I did was extraordinary, and they thought it was funny, and they wanted to make a television show about it, and so that's how Martin came about.
Martin. I mean, that's all I can hear. So let me ask you. So who's Gina?
Who's Sheneneh?
Yeah, who is Sheneneh? And I want to really know who Bruh Man.
Sheneneh was a gay character that I used to do on my morning show that I grew up with. So he became part of my cast of characters. So instead of the gay guy, they did Sheneneh. The old
and you
man,
did these characters? These are all your characters?
Yes.
Or were they people?
They just you know, they changed them somewhat so that they could have complete ownership.
Yeah.
What was his name? I forget his name now, but he was the security guy, Otis. I used to do an old man character because when I went off to college, I missed the sound of old people. And at Kent State, we had like a little forest that you walk through to get to the classrooms. So when I was in the forest by myself, I just pretend I was these old people, an old lady who lived across the street named Miss Brooks, and an old man named Mr. Jasper. So that's where the old people came from. Sheneneh was the gay guy that I grew up with. That's how I learned music. This guy would clean up the house. His mother would make him clean up, and he'd have all the music, and he could tell me about all the artists. It was an incredible thing. He was real cool. His name was Deucey. So I did him.
Your nickname is Deucey, see, Daddy? Deucey.
Yeah, and before he died, I got a chance to tell him about it. So he heard it. And Gina, yes, there was a girl in my life at the time who looked like that.
That's your babe?
The guy
Gina's
Tommy. The guy Tommy was an attorney in Detroit by the name of Ray Page, who just passed. Ray was walking down the street when they were following me around. And Ray used to treat me to drinks at Flood's Bar and Grill downtown Detroit.
I know where that is.
So he was always jovial. So he so happened to be walking by when we were walking, because I told him at that time, I like to walk in the evening. So we were walking, and Ray walked by me and goes, "You coming down the Floods?" All excited. "You're coming?" And I'm trying to explain to Ray what these people were doing. Of course, the show didn't exist, so he didn't really care. He just kept saying, I got you when you get there. I got you when you get there. So then they asked me, they said, "So what does he do?" And at the time, I didn't know what he did. He was just friendly. He was a bar friend. So they took note of that. And where he stopped me was an apartment building on East Jefferson. They just turned and started snapping the pictures. And that's how that apartment came into play. So that's the Martin story. They tried to put me on. Kim Fields wanted the producer and the director to put me on and give me a talking role at the time. I wasn't part of the union. They hadn't planned it. I guess I can't remember. I guess it was Fox or WKB, whatever one of the new channels were.
It was
So
Fox, yeah.
yeah, they weren't all together and put all that together. Plus, I couldn't leave. The technology didn't exist the way it does now. They wanted me to stay in California for a month. That was too long to be away from radio. The GM wouldn't do it. So I didn't do the speaking part. But they did put me in one of the episodes in terms of a listener from Detroit calls and goes, Mason. And Martin Lawrence goes, no, Mason ain't here anymore. It's Martin. So and that's
That's
as
awesome.
close to the authentic as get. But yeah, they did it. They wanted to do my story. They never told me why or anything of that nature. So it was cool. We,
But
I can't wait till they do
what's
my
good.
story.
Yeah, because we all grew up.
Daddy, they're going to do it.
Yeah, we all grew up watching Martin. And what's funny is our last guest, a guy named Charles Johnson, he works for the XFL. He's worked at like literally every professional level. His favorite show is Martin. So the fact that like he was on last week and then you're going to be on this week and you are the essentially you are Martin.
You were Martin. Martin.
So I have to ask this question for myself as well as my brother Amir. My brother's favorite character was Bruh Man from the Full Flow. So who was that? Who was Bruh Man?
Was just somebody I worked with who was just laid back. And they kept saying, who is that? I said, that's just my brother. So they called him Bruh Man. But he was just somebody
come
that
through the window.
I know, right? They just threw that part in. But yeah, it was somebody I worked with that was just laid back.
Come through the window, just eat something, and then just like leave.
Yeah.
Well, what was ironic is I lived in that apartment. At the time, they were redoing it for me. At the time they took the picture. So it was my actual residence at one point.
That is insane.
So when the characters from the TV show would come into the Detroit area, they'd come and visit. They wanted to see where everything was. They freaked out.
Because it looked like the set.
It was cool.
Crazy.
It was a lot of fun, though.
You're for sure going to be one of the most favorite people I've had on my show, for sure. On our show, actually.
Oh, yeah. I'm sorry. Whose show?
Our show.
Okay.